The dust of the arena is more than just dirt. It is a veil that separates the mortal from the immortal. In the world of professional rodeo, time is measured in fragments of a second, and destiny is forged in the space between the gate's crack and the buzzer's sound. 8 seconds. To a casual observer, it is a blink of an eye. To a cowboy, it is a lifetime of preparation, a dance with a 1,000-pound beast of pure muscle and instinct, and sometimes it is the threshold between a hero and a legend. Welcome to Rancho Master. Today, we aren't just looking at scores and standings, we are looking into the heart of the sport, the sweat, the blood, and the tears that have stained the dirt of the greatest arenas on earth. These are the moments that didn't just break records, they broke our hearts, redefined our courage, and proved that while the ride may end, the spirit of the cowboy lives forever. In the golden era of the 1980s, one name resonated across the plains of America with more warmth and charisma than any other: Lane Frost. Born into the lifestyle, Lane wasn't just a rider, he was the face of the PRCA, a young man whose smile was as wide as the Wyoming sky and whose talent was undeniable. In 1987, he reached the pinnacle of the sport, claiming the PRCA World Champion Bull Rider title. But his story isn't defined solely by the gold buckle, it's defined by his humanity. He was the cowboy who would stay until the last autograph was signed, the friend who would give the shirt off his back to a fellow rider. On July 30th, 1989, the world of rodeo changed forever at the Cheyenne Frontier Days. The air was thick with the scent of rain and adrenaline. Lane was matched against a bull named Taken Care of Business. As the gate swung open, it was a classic Lane Frost ride, perfect balance, total control. He made the whistle. He had conquered the beast. But as Lane dismounted into the mud, the bull turned. In a split second of tragic instinct, the bull's horn struck Lane in the side, breaking ribs and severing a main artery. Lane stood up, motioned for help, and then collapsed onto the dirt he loved so much. The silence that fell over Cheyenne that afternoon was deafening. The loss of Lane Frost wasn't just the loss of a champion, it was the loss of the sport's beating heart. His death led to mandatory use of protective vests, a legacy of safety that has saved countless lives since. When you watch the movie 8 Seconds, you see the Hollywood version, but the reality was even more profound. Lane didn't just ride bulls, he taught us how to live with grace and die with courage. Even today, if you look closely in the dust in the arena, you can still see the shadow of the boy from Utah, smiling back at us, reminding us why we love this dangerous, beautiful game. If Lane Frost was the heart of rodeo, J.B. Mauney is its fire. And every fire eventually meets a storm it cannot easily quench. For Mauney, that storm was named Bushwacker. To understand this moment, you have to understand that Bushwacker wasn't just a bull, he was a psychological phenomenon. He was a 1,700-pound athlete with a vertical leap and a change of direction that defied physics. He had bucked off 42 consecutive riders at the elite level. He was the baddest cat in the history of the PBR, a beast that made even the toughest men in the locker room look at the floor when his name was drawn. But J.B. Mauney is a different breed. He is a throwback to the old-school legends, a man who never chose the easy way out. In Tulsa, 2013, the unstoppable force met the immovable object. The tension in the building was so thick you could feel it in your teeth. People weren't cheering, they were holding their breath, waiting for the inevitable buck-off. But as the gate cracked, something miraculous happened. Mauney didn't just hang on, he moved with Bushwacker. He anticipated the drop, he countered the spin, and for 8 seconds, he rode the lightning. 95.25 points. The streak was over. The monster had been ridden.
The explosion of sound from the Tulsa crowd wasn't just a celebration of a score, it was a collective release of disbelief. It remains perhaps the greatest single ride in the history of the PBR. It was the moment J.B. Mauney cemented his status as the ultimate warrior, a man who stared into the eyes of the most dominant animal in history and didn't blink. If you haven't subscribed to Rancho Master yet, moments like these are why we stay loyal to the dirt. Make sure you're with us as we dive deeper into these legends. History is often written by those who cross oceans to find their destiny. In the early 90s, a man named Adriano Moraes arrived in the United States from Brazil with nothing but a gear bag and a dream that many thought was impossible. At the time, the American rodeo circuit was a closed circle, and the idea of a Brazilian dominating the PBR was met with skepticism and, in some corners, outright prejudice. Adriano didn't speak the language, he didn't know the culture, but he spoke the universal language of the bull rope. Adriano's technique was surgical. He didn't rely on raw power. He relied on a supernatural sense of balance and a discipline that was unheard of. He became the PBR's first world champion in 1994, then again in 2001, and finally in 2006. He didn't just win titles, he built a bridge. Every Brazilian rider you see today, from the young guns to the seasoned vets, is walking a path that Adriano paved with his own sweat.
If Adriano Moraes opened the door, Silvano Alves walked through it and turned the lights on for a new era of dominance. Emerging from the heart of Brazil, Silvano brought a style that was almost frustratingly perfect. He didn't care about flashy moves or high-scoring heroics. He cared about the whistle. His focus was so intense that he often looked like he was in a trance before a ride. In 2011, he captured his first world title, but he was just getting started. Silvano became the first rider in PBR history to win back-to-back titles, and then he did the unthinkable. He became the first three-time world champion. His dominance was so absolute that it forced the American riders to rethink their entire approach to the sport. He wasn't just a competitor, he was a psychological wall that no one could climb over. The pressure Silvano faced was immense. He carried the weight of a nation's expectations while dealing with the scrutiny of those who criticized his safe riding style. But the numbers don't lie. Silvano Alves proved that consistency is the ultimate form of greatness. He transformed the American perception of Brazilian riders from talented outsiders to the gold standard. When you see that calm, stoic face behind the chutes, you aren't just looking at a rider. You are looking at a master of the mental game who redefined what it means to be a champion in the modern age. Rodeo is built on brotherhood, but few bonds have ever reached the heights of Tuff Hedeman and Lane Frost. They were two sides of the same coin. Tuff, the gritty, hard-nosed competitor, and Lane, the golden boy. When Lane died in Cheyenne, a part of Tuff died with him. But the following year, at the 1989 National Finals Rodeo, Tuff had a debt to pay. Not to the judges, but to his brother. Tuff had made it to the final round, and as he climbed onto his bull, everyone in the arena knew this wasn't an ordinary ride. He made the 8 seconds, the buzzer sounded, but Tuff didn't get off. He stayed on, he kept riding, through the spins, through the kicks, for another 8 seconds. He rode for 16 seconds in total, 8 for himself, and 8 for Lane. The crowd didn't just cheer, they wept. It was a moment of raw, unadulterated tribute that transcended the sport. Those extra 8 seconds were a message to the heavens that Lane Frost was still there in the arena. It remains the most symbolic gesture in the history of Western sports. It showed us that while the dirt may claim a man's body, it can never claim the love between friends. Tuff's 16-second ride is the eternal flame of the rodeo, a reminder that we ride for more than ourselves. We ride for the ones who can't ride anymore. So what is it that keeps us coming back to the fence? Is it the thrill of the danger or the beauty of the struggle? The stories of Lane, Tuff, JB, Adriano, and Silvano tell us that rodeo is more than a sport. It is a mirror of the human condition. It is about the courage to stand up after the world knocks you down. It is about the loyalty that outlasts the grave. It is about the relentless pursuit of a dream, even when the odds are stacked 1,700 pounds against you. These legends remind us that our lives are also measured in our own 8 seconds, those brief moments of choice where we decide who we are and what we stand for. Whether you are in the stands or behind the chutes, the spirit of the cowboy calls to something deep within us all. Thank you for riding with us today on Rancho Master. Keep your hat on tight, your rope secure, and never forget, the greatest rides are the ones that move the soul. We'll see you in the next arena.